Let me say this, I never really planned to talk about Radiohead, ever. Not that I don't like them, I do think they're great. But what else can be said about a group that's not only been covered, but revered by every music journalist and video essay creator under the sun? At this point, if you're into music, you know their accolades. OK Computer, The Bends, A Moon-Shaped Pool, and Rainbows. Influence spanning a number of genres. One of the first bands to embrace the internet. Countless creative uses of time signatures. Radiohead is an unavoidable entity, and I really didn't want to join the party. But god damn, this was cool. This is Kid A Mnesia Exhibition, a video game made as a collaboration between Radiohead, Epic Games, Name the Machine, and Arbitrarily Good Productions. Of course, this is to promote Kid A Mnesia, an anniversary release celebrating the Radiohead albums Kid A and Amnesiac. It was originally meant to be a real-life exhibit, however, due to a number of reasons, the band shifted towards doing it in a virtual space, and I think this was the right move. I mean, just look at it. Look at this game. This is something special, and I've really fallen in love with it. Like, this might be one of my favorite games, period. It realizes the freedom of a virtual world and uses that to not only celebrate two of Radiohead's most important releases, but to create something that's more than a companion piece. Kid A Mnesia Exhibition is its own thing, and I think it's worth digging into, not as a byproduct of a promotional campaign that saw collaborations with Fall Guys and Fortnite, but as a piece of art. Let's take a deep dive into one of the most unique releases of this year. It's worth understanding a bit of context regarding how Radiohead markets their music, because this wasn't their first unusual stunt. In fact, Kid A and Amnesiac were promoted in some interesting ways. The most iconic of these tactics were the blips. These were short teasers made by Shinola Films that brought the art of Radiohead collaborator Stanley Donwood to life. According to Shinola, they were given total freedom when it came to what art and music was used, an interesting tactic for advertising which is usually so calculated. The blips were released both through regular sources of entertainment at the time like MTV, but also on the internet, which in 2000 wasn't a super popular thing like it is now. Radiohead went even further with their connections to the internet as they had what was called the iBlip, a streaming media player that allowed you to not only hear the entirety of Kid A, but also allowed access to bonus content. There were even official Radiohead Aimster skins. The band saw the power of this new technology and embraced it with open arms. Kid A Mnesia Exhibition is a continuation of the band's relationship to technology. Though this time they aren't showing off new technology or new concepts, they're showing what people could be doing with the technology that we have. With that said, we can finally start talking about the game itself. Kid A Mnesia Exhibition doesn't really have answers. There's not a plot or really any gameplay. I mean, the game literally tells you it's not a game. For as weird as that sounds, it's not technically wrong. You're meant to experience this like you're at an art gallery. There's no real goal other than to soak it in, unless finding QR codes that lead to merch is your thing. But it's not as boring as I make it out to be. There is something compelling about this place and its visitors. Like the music of Radiohead, there's little joy. Walking around, you see pain everywhere. Multiple times you can find minotaurs, bears, and stick figures just crying for no explicitly stated reason. Some people just tell you to keep moving, some are openly hostile. The most energetic folk seem intoxicated or completely detached from their surroundings as they stumble around. Maybe once in a while you'll see someone limp down the hallway injured. The visitors say a lot about this game. This is a world of sadness and indifference. But even the environments themselves convey those same feelings. You're not only constantly surrounded by industrial rooms that are cold and lifeless, but with anxious scribblings written for anyone to see. It's a harsh, dark environment to say the least. Yet there's a slight contrast to that. There's strangely clean and bright rooms that feel too clinical and sterile. They may be very different from what we're used to, but they still feel off. But I do have to say, it feels like something magical is going on. It feels like something beyond our comprehension. I could say that about a lot of things in this game, though. I think one of the first things most new players see is this giant floating pyramid. The thing is so big it breaks through the ceiling. There's something just so unnatural and alien about it. But for as strange as it is, it's not treated as any sort of world wonder. The only way to look into it is through this rickety little staircase. That seems to be a running theme. There's a lot of surreal stuff here, but there's always something to ground it. Nothing in the exhibit is ever going to be truly magical. There's always going to be a cynicism to it. It actually really complements the ending areas of this game, but I'll get to that later. Even the map design creates a sort of atmosphere. On my first playthrough, it felt like nothing made sense, and a few playthroughs later, it still doesn't feel right. Certain corridors just feel disconnected, even though they make sense when you think about it. Even the official map doesn't tell you much. Everything is out of order, nothing is in its right place, and it looks pretty cool. This is more of an art piece than anything. The experience of walking through the exhibit is like walking through a labyrinth, which I think is 100% intentional given Amnesiac's ties to the Minotaur. There is something unnerving about this game as well. Not like this is a horror game or anything, but there is just something disturbing about it. It always feels like there's something around the corner or in the darkness. There never is, of course, but walking around gives me a bit of anxiety. The game also has a sense of humor as well. It's not always present, but it makes me smile whenever I see it. A lot of the humor derives from Stanley Donwood's satirical art, which actually brings me to my next point. The game really feels like a Stanley Donwood piece. A lot of what this game achieves is already in the art for Kid A and Amnesiac. The indifference, the strangeness and darkness, the humor and confusion, it's all there. The difference is that Kid A Mnesia makes it a tangible thing. This is an experience that brings all that emotion and meaning to a new level. These pieces of art and scattered ideas are put through such a new lens that it hits in a different way. It reminds me of the Blips and how Shinola recontextualized the art to make something new. At the end of the day, it's just a virtual art gallery, but there's something about it that sticks with you. It feels like this now 20-year-old art has been given new life. Speaking of new life, let's talk about the music in the exhibition. It would have been easy to loop songs in the background and call it a day. I'd be willing to bet that a lot of people expected that, yet what we got instead was really unique. They actually went for the isolated tracks and stems for these albums and made completely new mixes for the game. The result is some of the most interesting pairings of audio and visuals I've seen in quite some time. The paper chamber stands out as one of the best moments in this game. Not only is there a lot to take in visually, the way the song In Limbo is used makes it somewhat frantic, though also dreamlike. Philip Selway's drums, for example, fade in and out, and it makes it all feel really dynamic. This mix is already really cool, but paired with the visuals, it really becomes an atmospheric thing. The song and the room feel alive. There's no other way to really explain it. This room, known as the Pixel Warehouse, has this giant LED cube in the middle of the room. The song playing in here is packed like sardines in a crushed tin box, and if you walk around, you can actually manipulate the audio a bit by standing on these certain spots. If you have a bit of rhythm, you can basically remix this song, and it's a lot of fun. But my favorite new mix is at the very end of the game. You exit from the landscape gallery and make it to this concrete corridor with stairs leading upwards. At first it seems a bit normal with just the scribblings on the wall, but then you realize you're hearing motion picture soundtrack. This version of the song is stripped back as it's only harp and cello. However, it's definitely still beautiful. Up to this point, the game has been dark, confusing, and bleak. Yet, in this moment, it just feels right. It's the end of our long journey, and it's rewarding us with something gorgeous. Look, there's a lot of amazing moments in this game, but I feel like words escape me. Quite honestly, you should download the game and play it for yourself. The whole game is free, it's short, and it's absolutely jaw-dropping. The only bad thing I have to say about it is that it's an Epic Games exclusive. Luckily for us though, we're not giving Epic Games any money, so it's kind of a win. I think Kid A Mnesia Exhibition is well worth your time. It's not just a great experience, it's another chapter in Radiohead's history where they mingle with technology in ways nobody else has. Will any band try and follow in their footsteps? Who knows? But even if not, I still feel like this will be a demonstration of how ahead of the curve this band is.
Reasonable.